sandals of a Roman soldier, not a general, not a centurion with plumes on his helmet, just a regular soldier, a legionary, the kind who wakes up before the sun, sleeps on dirt, and hasn't felt softness in months. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And let me know in the comments, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it right now? Now, turn off the lights, maybe switch on a fan for some gentle background noise, and let's start tonight's journey together. You're not dreaming. You're definitely not in your soft bed anymore, because right now, you're in a Roman military camp, somewhere along the dusty edge of the empire, just before dawn. And someone is blowing a corna, a great curling horn the size of a toddler, which announces, quite rudely, that the sun is still not up. But you need to be. You groan, too loudly. The guy beside you mutters something in Latin that probably wasn't complimentary. The air is cold, that special kind of cold, that only comes from sleeping wrapped in a cloak, that smells like mildew and regret. You pull it off, slowly, because everything hurts. Shoulders, sore. Lower back, sore. Feet, well, the less said about Roman sandals, the better. You reach for your boots, still damp from yesterday's march. They smell like sweat, vinegar, and whatever moldy mushrooms the cook tried to serve last night. You wriggle your toes in, because laces didn't exist yet. Straps only. So many straps. You buckle them tight, wondering how your ancestors ever made it to the future without socks. Then comes the tunic. It's not white, not anymore. Once upon a time, it might have been cheerful red, like a fresh apple. Now it's more dirt-colored. You throw it over your head like a sad toga. It scratches your skin. It always scratches. But no one complains, because somewhere, maybe 2 tents down, someone did complain yesterday. And now he's on latrine duty until Saturn's next birthday, which, for context, is not soon. Next, the belt. You fasten it high and tight, higher than modern belts, like just under the ribs high. Why? Because Roman fashion had ideas, and comfort wasn't one of them. Attached to it are your dagger and your little iron tools, none of which will help you slice bread, but all of which look very intimidating in formation. You step outside. It's still dark, but the camp is already awake. Torchlight flickers across rows of tents, casting long shadows on muddy walkways. The smell? Equal parts smoke, sweat, and damp leather. The kind of scent Yankee Candle would never attempt. You hear orders being shouted. Not at you, yet. Adsigna. That means get to your formation post. It also means you have about 20 seconds to find your helmet, or your jogging laps while wearing it. Helmet? Oh yes, bronze, heavy, round, decorated with a brow ridge that makes everyone look a little angrier than they actually feel. You plop it on. It immediately shifts sideways. Great. Helmet hair is the least of your worries now. Your centurion is approaching. You recognize him not because of his face. It's too early for faces, but because of the way the ground shudders when he walks. Thud, thud, thud. His boots probably weigh more than your rations. Form up, he growls. You do. Everyone does. Because not forming up means lashes, and not metaphorical ones. The punishment stick isn't for decoration. You're now standing in a long, crooked line, with 99 other tired, mildly irritated, semi-armored men, all pretending to be alert. The horn blows again. This time, it signals inspection. The centurion walks down the line, inspects your face, your posture, your tunic, your belt buckle alignment. Yes, that's a thing. Then he stops, right in front of you. He squints. He tilts his head. You freeze. He says nothing, then nods once, and moves on. You just survived your first inspection, but your nerves are fried, and the sun still isn't up. Welcome to the Roman army, where sleep is a memory, and mornings are an obstacle course. And don't worry, we haven't even started marching yet. That's for next time, or rather, for about 15 minutes from now. The routine unfolds with military precision. A soldier 2 tents over is already sharpening his gladius, the short Roman sword, as if he's auditioning for an invisible audience. The rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape of whetstone against steel is oddly calming. Until it isn't. Someone sneezes, violently. No one says bless you, because there's no time for pleasantries. There's just routine and discipline and the constant presence of Decimus, the oldest guy in your contubernium, who never seems to sleep and definitely never smiles. He's already fully dressed, polished, awake, judging you with eyes that have seen 10 winters on the Rhine frontier. He mutters something about green recruits under his breath. You pretend not to hear. Your stomach growls. Too bad. Breakfast doesn't come until after roll call, and even then, it's hardly worth the wait. You reach for your kit bag. Check for everything. Oil flask? Yes. Strigil, for scraping off sweat? Disgusting. But yes. Water flask? Half full, but it'll have to do. You tie the bag shut with a practiced flick. The leather creaks. Everything creaks. Actually, it's not just the gear, it's your joints. You step toward the assembly ground, really just a flattened patch of dirt, with a few chalk lines and a lot of shouting. You pass the camp's fire pit, still glowing faintly. There's a man heating what looks like bean porridge over the coals. You envy him. For a split second, then you remember, he's the cook, which means he probably started working 2 hours ago. Your envy evaporates. The wind picks up, dry, cool, carries the scent of ash, stale wine, and sweat-soaked tunics. Birds stir in the nearby trees. A donkey brays somewhere outside the camp walls, probably tied to a cart full of firewood, waiting to be unloaded by someone equally unlucky. You reach the parade ground. Your cohort is forming ranks, 6 men deep. Helmeted heads bob as soldiers stretch, grumble, or scratch places best left undescribed. You take your place. To your right, Marcus, the new guy with a twitchy eye and a homemade tattoo of a she-wolf, mutters a nervous joke, something about hoping today's drills don't involve ladders. You smile faintly. No one likes ladder drills. You survived roll call. Congratulations. The sun has just barely risen, and you're still standing, which means you're technically fit for duty, but you're also filthy, because Roman soldiers didn't bathe daily. They scrubbed. With vinegar, you walk, more like shuffle, toward the washing area, a row of stone basins set low to the ground, each one smelling faintly like a salad that's been left out in the sun. There's no soap, just a clay jug of vinegar and a stiff, bristled brush that looks like it used to be a porcupine. The vinegar bites your skin, sharp, cold, unapologetic. It's not soothing. It's not even cleansing, really. But it's what you do every morning. You dip the brush, scrub your arms, your neck, your armpits. Grit from yesterday's march flakes off in streaks. Your hands tremble slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer unpleasantness of scraping salt, sweat, and shame off your body before breakfast. To your left, another soldier hums softly as he brushes. To your right, someone grunts and curses under his breath. You all pretend it's normal, because it is. For a Roman soldier, grooming isn't about cleanliness. It's about discipline. It's about control. If you can master your own stink, you can probably hold a spear straight through a thunderstorm. At least that's what the centurion says. Next comes the strigil, a curved bronze blade with no edge, used to scrape the last bits of grime off your skin, like icing off a cake. Only it's not icing, and the cake is you. You pull the tool across your arms, your chest, your legs, scrape, wipe, repeat. The residue looks like melted dirt and dried sorrow. There's no towel, just your cloak, which now smells like vinegar and faint despair. You nod to Decimus. He nods back, wordless. That's how you know he respects you now. You've scrubbed hard enough not to be mocked. Small victories. You head toward the latrines. Yes, we're going there, because nature calls. And in the Roman army, nature doesn't knock. It barges in, with muddy boots and no apologies. The latrine trench is long, deep, and lined with stone. A continuous bench with keyhole-shaped holes. No privacy dividers, no curtains, no stalls. You sit next to Lucius. He nods. You nod. That's the full conversation. Behind you, a jar of vinegar water and a communal sponge on a stick waits silently. Yes, you're supposed to share it. No, there is no backup sponge. You take a deep breath and adjust your expectations of life. The smell? It's impossible to describe. A mixture of ammonia, age, smoke, and the silent resignation of 100 men eating too many lentils. You finish. You wipe. You don't cry, but you consider it. Then you walk away, back into the open air, and you feel reborn. Not clean, not exactly human, but definitely emptied of something important. You rinse your hands in the same vinegar basin as before. You think about asking for clean water. Then you remember you're not a senator. You're a soldier. There are rules. You dry your hands on your cloak. Again, and that's hygiene in the Roman army. Painful, public, and perfectly standard. And now, finally, after vinegar, scraping, trench sitting, and moral compromise, you can think about food. As you walk back through camp, the smell of vinegar still clings to you. Like a badge of survival, a passing auxiliary raises an eyebrow. You nod in return, resisting the urge to explain. In this world, smelling like acidic salad dressing is actually a sign of effort. Someone nearby is cleaning their nails with a knife, an act that feels strangely luxurious compared to what you just endured. There's no mirror here. If you want to see your face, you bend over a water basin and hope the reflection doesn't insult you. You try it. The face that stares back is sun-darkened, with lines forming from too many squints and too few smiles. Your hair matte with dust. Your eyes still half asleep, but they've seen worse. Probably a horn blows in the distance, signaling shift rotation. You make a mental note. Latrines will be worse in an hour. The early birds always get the least cursed seats. Now, here's something the history scrolls won't tell you. Some soldiers used sand to scour their skin. Sand, as if vinegar wasn't enough. Now you're supposed to exfoliate with Roman beach gravel. There's a young recruit, barely old enough to shave, doing exactly that beside the latrine trench. He's muttering to himself in Greek, rubbing handfuls of dry sand up and down his arms. You nod respectfully. He'll either toughen up or lose a layer of skin. Either way, he's learning. You sit on a nearby crate for a moment. Just a moment. The crate creaks under your weight, but doesn't collapse. Small win. Your body is cleanish. Your conscience less so. You think about writing a letter home, maybe describing the morning as refreshing. Then again, your mother doesn't need to know about the vinegar sponge. Some stories should stay buried, like amphorae full of spoiled fish sauce. There's a moment of quiet before the morning frenzy resumes. The sun is finally above the horizon now, casting long slashes of golden light across the muddy ground. And somehow, for just a breath, the camp almost looks peaceful. But it's a lie. You know it, because breakfast is next. And in the Roman army, even eating comes with rules. Before you rise again, someone passes you a small tin of oil. Standard issue, thick as syrup, and twice as sticky. You smear a bit on your arms, a final layer, to lock in whatever cleanliness the vinegar missed. It smells faintly of pine and disappointment. Another soldier jokes that it keeps lice away. You're not convinced. But superstition runs deeper than strategy in this camp. You stand, stretch, gather your gear. The brushing, scraping, rinsing, and ritual humiliation are now complete. You're ready, not for war, not for glory, just for the next 10 minutes of survival. And that, in essence, is the secret to being a Roman soldier. You don't conquer Gaul before breakfast. You just survive vinegar and grit, without losing your mind or your dignity. And sometimes, that's enough. You've washed, you've wiped, you've survived the vinegar, and now it's time to dress for the part. Because in the Roman army, armor isn't optional, even when you're not at war, even when you're just peeling onions, or shoveling dirt, or chasing a chicken that escaped the cook fire. You wear it anyway, because rules. You kneel beside your cot, reaching for your gear. It's not neatly arranged. It never is. No matter how carefully you folded it the night before, it somehow always ends up tangled like vines around a drunk poet's ankles. First, the tunic. Wool, scratchy, stiff with yesterday's sweat. You throw it on with a practiced shrug. It smells like everything you've done in the last 48 hours. And none of it was glamorous. Over that comes the subarmalis, a padded underlayer meant to protect your skin from the real armor. It's thick, it's hot, and it smells faintly of mildew, because it never really dries all the way between marches. Still, it's better than having raw shoulders from your lorica segmentata digging in all day. Now for the armor itself, segmented metal plates that wrap around your torso, like the ribs of an angry turtle. It's heavy, loud, and takes a solid 5 minutes to strap into, unless your neighbor helps you, which he doesn't, because he's busy, fighting with his own set of straps, grunting like a donkey stuck in a wine barrel. You tighten the leather bindings. You adjust the shoulder guards. You shift your weight to keep the thing from pinching your ribs. Somehow, no matter what you do, there's always one segment that digs into your side, just enough to remind you you're mortal. Then come the greaves, bronze shin guards. They look fancy from a distance. Up close, they're just another set of problems. For your already abused legs, you strap them on tight, knowing full well they'll slide down your calves during the first march and rattle with every step, like wind chimes on a warpath. You tuck your dagger into your belt, not because you'll need it for battle. More likely, you'll use it to slice stale bread, or pry a pebble from your sandal later. Speaking of sandals, you shove your feet into your caligae, Roman military boots, with open toes and iron hobnails. They're the perfect footwear if your goal is to develop lifelong foot pain. By age 25, you stand up slowly, not dramatically, just cautiously, like someone who knows full well their armor may or may not cooperate with gravity today. The weight settles on your shoulders. Your spine protests. Your hips sigh. But you're ready, almost, because you still have to find your helmet. You spot it, lying upside down near the foot of your cot, like it crawled there in the night to escape its fate. You pick it up, bronze, dented, sweat-stained, still serviceable, still yours. You jam it down on your head, adjusting the leather chin strap, so it doesn't strangle you when you turn your neck, which, by the way, you now do slowly, very slowly, because turning too fast in full gear is like asking to sprain something you didn't know existed. A horn sounds in the distance. Assembly call. You grab your scutum, your shield, one arm sliding into the grip like it's second nature, because it is, even when you sleep. Your hand sometimes curls, like it's still holding the thing. You step out of the tent, and suddenly, The morning air feels different, thicker, heavier, not because of the weather, because of the metal all around you. Soldiers clank and shuffle and mutter curses as they wrestle with belts and shields and helmets that never sit quite right. The noise is constant. Clink, creak, snort, cough, repeat. This is what readiness looks like. 100 men dressed for battle, knowing full well they'll spend the day moving rocks, filling ditches, or building roads, but wearing armor, like they're storming a fortress. You walk toward the parade ground. Your sandals crunch over gravel. Your gear shifts with every step. Someone to your left coughs dramatically and mutters, "Smells like iron and regret out here." You nod. It does. But at least you're dressed. You're not fast. You're not comfortable. But you're armored. And in the Roman army, that's enough to count as prepared. Your centurion passes by, eyeing everyone, from behind a slightly crooked helmet. He doesn't shout this time. He doesn't need to. His silence is worse. He walks slowly, deliberately, scanning every belt, every buckle, every soldier's attempt to look more ready than they actually feel. He stops behind a recruit, whose helmet strap is dangling like an afterthought. There's a pause, then a quiet. Fix it, and the recruit moves, like he just sat on a snake. You keep your eyes forward. You breathe carefully through your nose. Armor has a smell. It's not metal. It's not sweat. It's memory. Every scratch, every dent, every line of rust tells a little story. Of the time you slipped on wet stone. Of the time your shield caught a glancing blow. Of the time you fell asleep standing up, and your helmet dropped into your porridge. The armor remembers. It hugs your body, like an anxious dog, refusing to let go, no matter how much you wish. It would loosen up, just a little, but then again, maybe that's the point. Armor is not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to remind you, constantly, that you're at war, even when the war today is just an angry mule and a half-dug trench. You flex your fingers around the shield grip. Your arms ache already. The sun is barely over the horizon, and you haven't taken a single step outside camp. You sigh, quietly, because this is normal. This is what life is now. You are wrapped in metal, sweat, and the quiet understanding that you're not special. No one is. Not when you're all wearing the same clunky uniform and standing in a field, waiting for the next order. And yet, somehow, despite the noise and the discomfort and the general lack of good decisions, you feel something else. Pride? Maybe. Endurance? Definitely. Because even when the armor pinches, when your back stings and your shoulders scream, you're still here. You're still standing. And for today, that's enough. Tomorrow, we'll see. You've scrubbed your skin until it glowed with vinegar. You've strapped on armor that feels like punishment disguised as protection. And now, finally, blessedly, it's time for breakfast. Sort of. You follow the line of armored, mildly bitter men shuffling toward the supply cart. There's no mess hall, just a few folding tables, a couple of large clay jars, and one very tired soldier with a ladle and no patience. You hand him your bowl. He fills it without looking at you. The contents? A lukewarm, grayish slop that might be barley porridge, or lentils, or leftovers from 3 days ago that have blended into something new entirely. It jiggles in the bowl. That's never a good sign. Still, it's food. You take your place on a bench made from a plank of wood balanced across 2 crates. It wobbles when you sit, but holds. For now, you take a bite. It's cold in the middle. Of course it is. You chew anyway. Next to you, Lucius is gnawing on what looks like an ancient piece of bread. His expression suggests it may have fought back. You reach into your satchel and pull out your own ration of panis militaris, standard Roman military bread. It's round, hard, and unforgiving. You knock it gently on the edge of the bench just to test it. The bench loses. The bread is dry as chalk and twice as dense. You take a bite and feel your molars protest. You wash it down with a sip from your wineskin. The wine is thin and vinegary, more like sour juice than anything you'd recognize from a banquet. But that's not the point. Roman soldiers drank diluted wine, posca, not to enjoy it, but because water wasn't safe and alcohol masked the taste of whatever was lurking in the bottom of the barrel. You sip again and try not to think about the floaty bits. Across the bench, someone burps like a lion. Nobody reacts. It's just breakfast. You chew. You sip. You chew some more. Every bite takes effort. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because you're not just consuming calories, you're consuming compromise. You're absorbing the reality that nutrition and enjoyment parted ways long before this meal was served. And still, it's kind of comforting. It's simple, predictable, no surprises. Just bread that could break a shield, and wine that could clean a wound. Lucius mumbles something with a full mouth. You nod like you understood. You didn't, but that's breakfast etiquette. Next comes the olives. If you're lucky, one of the amphorae at the end of the table holds a few oily green survivors floating in brine. You jab your fingers in and fish one out. Salty, slimy, surprisingly effective at cutting through the dryness of everything else. A luxury, really. And in this life, even a single olive feels like a gift from the gods. A bee circles your bowl. You wave it away. It circles again. You swat and miss, nearly elbowing Lucius. He doesn't blink. Too busy gnawing. The sun climbs higher. Your armor heats up. The wine turns warm. And you know, deep in your soul, that this is the high point of your day. Because after breakfast, the real work begins. You glance around the camp as you chew. Men sit on stones, stumps, anything flat enough to count as a seat. Some eat silently, lost in thought. Others trade jokes too tired to be funny. Someone drops a bowl. The sound is sharp, loud. No one flinches. A dog, probably stray, possibly a mascot, wanders near the food line. It's missing part of one ear and walks with a limp. You toss it a bit of bread. It sniffs, then walks away in disgust. You shrug. Same. Behind you, one of the officers is eating in full silence. Posture perfect. Armor gleaming even in the dust. You try not to stare, but something about that level of cleanliness so early in the morning feels suspicious. Then again, maybe he had olives. Real ones. You look back at your bowl and stir the contents, trying to convince yourself it's still edible. It is. Technically, you finish the last few bites with slow determination. Each one feels like a chore, but not finishing would draw attention. You're supposed to eat. Fuel the body. Strong bodies build strong roads. Dig deep trenches. Carry heavy shields. So you finish, and you stand. The bench wobbles as you rise. You brush crumbs from your cloak, wipe the oil from your fingers on the side of your tunic, and sling your shield across your back. The wineskin goes with you, always, even warm and sour. It's your lifeline in the hours to come. As you walk toward the assembly point, you feel the slow shift begin. That subtle turning of the morning, breakfast fading into labor. Stomachs full, or close enough, mouths quiet, eyes narrowing against the glare. The idle chatter dies down, replaced by the soft creak of leather straps, the clink of gear being checked, the scuff of sandals on packed dirt. Everyone knows what comes next, and no one's excited, because Roman breakfast isn't the beginning of the day. It's the warning shot. A gentle reminder that the hard part hasn't started yet. You take one last look at the food line behind you. It already looks different. The benches are half empty. The dog is gone. The olives have vanished. The soldier with the ladle is packing up, shaking out crumbs and muttering curses at the wind. Soon, the next trumpet will sound, and the morning will be over. All that will remain is heat, dust, labor, and the silent counting of hours until you get to sit again. But for now, you've eaten, and somehow, that's a victory. At least, that's what you tell yourself as you tighten your belt and brace for whatever comes next. You hear it before you see it, the low, rumbling call of the cornu, the curved horn that sounds like a distant storm cloud made of brass and bad news. That's the signal. March formation. You fall in line, because of course you do. No one wants to be the last man scrambling with their gear, while everyone else is 2 steps away from getting yelled at. Your cohort forms up by the camp gate, lined in ranks of 10, shields to the left, gladi at the hip, sandals standing on packed earth that already feels too warm for this early in the day. The centurion walks the line. You don't know how he's still upright. You've never seen him eat, sleep, or blink, but there he is, again, with a scowl carved into his face like a permanent feature. Ready arms. The command is loud, unnecessary. But tradition, you all raise your shields slightly and check your grip. Your arm already aches and you haven't taken a single step. Behind you, someone mutters a prayer to Mars, or maybe to Mercury. At this point, you're open to divine assistance from any department. The signal is given. The march begins. It's not a sprint. It's not a stroll. It's that special, soul-grinding pace that's just fast enough to tire your legs, but just slow enough to feel like punishment. You march. You don't talk. Talking wastes breath. And breath is something you'll need, especially since you're marching under weight. Your gear, armor, shield, sword, pack, probably weighs 60 pounds in total. You've never actually measured, but you've dreamed about throwing it into a river, and that dream felt real. You march past fields, past hills, past a group of local farmers who barely glance up as 120 armored men clomp by like an iron centipede. To them, you're just background noise, like wind or taxes. The road is uneven, dry, and occasionally rude. You step around a rock that looks suspiciously like a skull and try not to ask questions. The sun climbs. You sweat. The armor doesn't help. It traps heat like an angry oven strapped to your chest. Your cloak sticks to your neck. Your calf itches. Your shoulder stings from a strap you forgot to adjust. And the march continues. Occasionally, the centurion shouts a correction. Straighten that line. Pick up your feet. Is that shield meant to be a pillow? You don't dare respond. No one does. Even the guy he's yelling at nods silently, adjusts his grip, and keeps walking. Time loses meaning during the march. Minutes blur into miles. You start measuring time by landmarks. A broken tree stump here, a creek you can't drink from there. Eventually, your brain settles into a strange rhythm. Left foot, right foot. Ignore pain. Repeat. You pass another cohort coming the other direction. They look worse than you do, which, honestly, is impressive. One of them gives you a 1,000-yard stare through eyes sunken deep behind grime and regret. You nod, a silent salute. He nods back. Brotherhood, forged in foot blisters and mutual trauma. There's a quiet break, not a rest. Just a stretch where the road evens out and no one shouts for 30 full seconds. It feels like a vacation. You savor it. Then the road tilts upward. Of course it does. Because no Roman march is complete without a hill that makes you question every life choice that led to this moment. Your legs start to shake. You pretend they're just warming up. Everyone else pretends too. The soldier next to you coughs into his sleeve and mutters, "I miss being a baker." You grunt in sympathy. You didn't choose this life for comfort, or money, or adventure. You chose it because, actually, you're not sure anymore. But here you are, one foot in front of the other, a slow, creaking machine made of men and metal. You reach the top of the hill. Your reward? Another hill. Of course. The sun is directly overhead now, and your mouth is dry. You're allowed to drink, but only at the next stop, which hasn't been announced, which means it could be 5 minutes, or 50, or never. You lick your lips and imagine the taste of cool well water. But all you have is warm posca sloshing in your wineskin, mixed with hope and regret. You march on. Eventually, someone stumbles. Not a full fall, just a misstep. A foot catching a root. He steadies himself quickly. The centurion doesn't even turn around. He just says, flatly, "Again," and you carry everyone's pack. The soldier regains his balance instantly. Amazing what motivation can do. Finally, after what feels like hours, because it probably was, you see it. The rest marker, a cluster of shaded stones under a few half-dead trees. Someone had the mercy to designate this patch of misery as a rest point. The command is given, halt. You stop. You don't sit, not yet. First, you take one sip from your wineskin. Slow, measured, like it's the last wine on earth. Then you unstrap your shield and lean it gently against your knee. Not all the way down. You never fully relax, just enough to trick your spine into believing it has options. And then you breathe, really breathe, for the first time in hours. Your lungs expand fully, and that, surprisingly, is enough to make you feel human again. The break won't last, you know that. Soon, another horn will blow, and your feet will be at it again. But for now, you've stopped moving. You're still in pain, still covered in sweat, still questioning everything, but you're not walking. And that, somehow, is victory, even if temporary. The rest is over. A short breath, a stingy sip, a few stolen seconds under the shade of a half-dead tree. Then the horn blows again. No one groans. Not out loud. You lift your shield, strap it tight, shift your pack back into position. Your legs creak as you stand, knees popping like wet wood in a fire. And then the march resumes. But this time, the road leads not to battle. Not yet. It leads to training ground, which, depending on your mood, might be worse. You arrive at an open stretch of dirt and dust, roughly leveled, ringed with stones. There are wooden poles jammed into the earth, each one shaped like an unlucky tree stump. These are your sparring partners. They don't talk. They don't bleed. But they don't break either. You're ordered to line up. Same order every time. Shields left. Spears forward. Feet apart, but not too wide. Back straight, unless you enjoy bruises. The centurion shouts, "Form up!" You form. Advance. You advance. 1 step. 2. Then pause. Then the command, strike. And you do. You drive your wooden practice spear into the post. It thuds. Not satisfying. Not dramatic. Just work. You pull back. Strike again. Thud. Again. Thud. Your hands vibrate from the impact. The post doesn't move. It never moves. You keep going. Again and again, until your arms feel like wet rope and your breath tastes like rust. Then you switch. Shield drills. Raise. Block. Step. Brace. Repeat. You practice taking hits from imaginary enemies, or real ones. If someone 2 men down gets too enthusiastic, your shoulder starts to burn. You roll it back, then forward, then back again. It still burns. The sun is higher now. The dust clings to your sweat. It turns your skin into clay. And still, the centurion walks the line. Faster, lower. Do you want to die out there? You don't answer. You're too tired to be clever, and too smart to try. So you keep moving, keep striking, keep blocking, because this is how soldiers are made. You catch glimpses of the other men. Some grunt with each strike. Some are dead silent, eyes locked on the post like it insulted their ancestors. Lucius is muttering something under his breath. Maybe curses, maybe prayers. Decimus, as always, looks unfazed. He's been through this before, 1,000 times. Probably. He trains like breathing, effortless, deliberate. You envy that. You lose count of how many strikes you've made. Time stretches. Sweat drips down your spine, pooling beneath the backplate of your armor. The spear digs into your palm. Your fingers throb. You switch hands, then switch back. Your shield feels heavier now, like someone slipped rocks inside when you weren't looking. Your feet dig ruts in the dirt. You adjust your stance, but it doesn't help. The post remains unmoved, unimpressed. The centurion stops in front of you. He watches, says nothing. You strike again, harder this time. He nods once, barely, then moves on. You allow yourself one blink of pride, then back to work. After an eternity, or maybe 20 minutes, you're ordered to switch drills. The unit lines up in testudo, tortoise formation. Shields lock in front and overhead. The sun disappears behind a ceiling of leather and iron. It's cooler inside, but it smells like breath and boiled armor. Advance! The line lurches forward. Step, step, block. Step, hold. Spears push forward through the cracks. Imaginary enemies stabbed in perfect rhythm. You try to match the pace. It's harder than it looks. Someone stumbles. The line shifts. The centurion shouts. You recover. Keep moving. Every muscle aches. Your arms scream. But the formation holds. Barely. Then comes sparring. 2 men step forward at a time. Blunted weapons. Full force. No grudge required. Just speed and aggression. Lucius goes first. He swings like a man chasing ghosts. His opponent ducks, counters. Lucius goes down. Not hard, not injured, just humbled. You're called next. You step into the ring. Shield up, spear ready. Your opponent is young, fast, smirking. You don't like him already. He lunges. You block. You pivot. You strike. The blow lands. Not clean, but enough. The smirk fades. He strikes back. Your shield takes it, but it shakes your whole arm. You counter. He dodges. It goes on like this. 2 minutes of panting, sweating, swinging. Then it ends. You're both called off. No winners, no losers. Just survivors. And more blisters. So many blisters. You peel off your glove and look at your palm. Raw, red, shiny like new leather. The skin's beginning to split. You wrap it quickly, quietly, no complaints. You've learned by now. Injuries you don't mention don't earn extra duties. The horn sounds again. Training over. For now, you exhale. It comes out as a groan, and that's okay, because no one hears you. They're all groaning too. You stagger to the edge of the field, drop to one knee, and let the weight of the morning catch up. You made it. Through drills, through bruises, through a wooden post that never blinked. You made it. And in this army, that's the only kind of victory that matters. You'd think after drills that grind your bones and marches that melt your feet, the worst would be over. It isn't, because in the Roman army, mistakes are not just noticed, they're punished. publicly, systematically, spectacularly. You learn that quickly, sometimes from stories, sometimes by witnessing it with your own 2 eyes, sometimes by being the lesson. Today, it starts small. A recruit forgets to tie his belt tight enough. The result? His dagger clatters to the ground mid-drill. That's it. One mistake. The centurion doesn't yell. He doesn't need to. He just stares for a moment. Then he points to the punishment pole. It's just a post in the middle of the training yard. But it radiates shame like heat off stone. The recruit walks to it, ties his arms behind his back with the leather cord waiting there. A soldier steps forward, one of the older ones. He holds the staff. 3 quick strikes, not meant to maim, just enough to make a point. You watch the recruit wince, but he doesn't cry out. He wouldn't dare, not with everyone watching. That's the point. Shame is a weapon here, sometimes more effective than the gladius. Later that day, someone forgets to clean their armor. The centurion walks past and runs a finger through the dust on the shoulder plate. He shows it to the soldier like he's revealing a crime. That soldier spends the next 2 hours digging a latrine trench by himself. Full armor, no water. That's justice, Roman style. And then there are the rumors of men who deserted and were caught. You've never seen a decimation, and you don't want to, but you've heard about them. 1 in every 10 men, chosen by lot, beaten to death by the other 9. To restore discipline, to remind everyone, your mistakes don't belong to you. They belong to the whole unit. Your shame is communal, and if you run, you risk dragging your brothers down with you. So you don't run. You don't forget your belt. You clean your gear. You speak only when spoken to. And even then, you measure your words like silver, because anything can be punished. Anything. Sometimes the punishment is absurdly creative. One man spoke during formation, just a whisper. The centurion made him stand facing the sun for an hour, arms raised, holding a shield above his head. By the end, his elbows trembled like leaves. The message? Disobedience doesn't have to be loud to be dangerous. Even small cracks spread. Another time, a man laughed during weapon inspection. It wasn't even a loud laugh, just a snort. He spent the next day sweeping the camp road. With a broken broom, every grain of dust, every pebble, every leaf. He had to move it. And if anyone stepped on the road before he was done, he started again. No one stepped, not out of kindness, out of fear that they'd be assigned the same fate. Then there's the dreaded punishment by silence, not corporal, not official, but devastating. If you cost the group a rest break, or failed an assignment, no one talks to you, no one eats next to you. You become invisible for a day, sometimes longer. No laughter, no whispers, no nods in the morning. You become a ghost in armor. Even the officers don't acknowledge you. And somehow, that stings more than the stick. But not all punishments are harsh. Some are just humiliating. There's a soldier in your unit, Caius. Not a bad man, but clumsy. He tripped during formation once, fell flat. Shield landed upside down. The centurion didn't beat him, didn't yell. He just assigned him latrine duty for a week, and made him wear his helmet backward while doing it. Everyone laughed. Caius did too. Kind of. But after that, no one tripped again for a month. That's how discipline works here. Pain, shame, exclusion, or creative humiliation. You learn to walk the line. You memorize every rule, even the unspoken ones, because there are always eyes watching. The centurion, the optio, even your fellow soldiers, especially your fellow soldiers. They're not waiting for you to fail, exactly, but they are watching, because every mistake puts pressure on them. And pressure is the one thing no one here needs more of. You start to double-check everything. Is your helmet tight? Is your gladius clean? Did you blink at the wrong time? Did you mutter too loud when your foot cramped? You become a creature of caution, of precision, not because you fear the punishment itself, but because you fear what it says about you, that you're not ready, that you're not reliable, that you're not one of them. And in a place like this, being alone is worse than being bruised. So you conform, you endure, you shrink your movements, tighten your speech, file your spirit down until it fits perfectly inside your boots. And in the rare moments when punishment doesn't fall on you, you're grateful, grateful for nothing happening, for silence, for normal. That's how the Roman army trains loyalty, through discipline and dread, through fear and familiarity, through the simple, unforgettable lesson that, in this place, the worst thing you can be is noticeable. Because in this army, the tall nail gets hammered, and hammered, and hammered. Later that evening, as you lie on your back staring at the canvas of the tent roof, you think about everything you avoided. You didn't drop your dagger, you didn't laugh, you didn't speak when you shouldn't have, and somehow that feels like winning. But it's a strange kind of victory, one that doesn't celebrate you, but simply spares you. You hear someone snore nearby. Another coughs in their sleep. Outside, the sound of armor being shifted and checked echoes softly. Another soldier doing a late-night inspection just to be sure. No one wants to be tomorrow's example. And you lie still, wondering what invisible line you might step over next. That's the trick of this life. You never really know the rules until you break one. And even then, they change. So you stay quiet, you prepare, you comply, and you hope, because in a world where silence can be punishment and visibility is danger, being average is a kind of genius. You close your eyes. Tomorrow, someone else might get it wrong. It might be you, or it might be the guy next to you who snores like Jupiter himself. If you've ever been part of a team where one person's mistake cost everyone, you know exactly how this feels. Let me know in the comments. What's the strangest rule or punishment you've ever had to deal with? And if you're still awake, well, you're tougher than half the empire already. It starts with a feeling, a shift in your stomach, a quiet cramp that curls like a whisper through your gut. You ignore it. For a while. But Roman food has its schedule, and your body doesn't get a vote. So eventually, with quiet resignation, you gather your courage, your dignity, and your cloak, and you go. The latrines are on the edge of camp, always the edge, always downwind. From a distance, they look like a trench with ambition, a long stone channel lined with evenly spaced holes, like someone tried to invent musical chairs and gave up halfway. There's no privacy, no partitions, no curtains, just men seated side by side, pretending they aren't. You approach slowly, not out of fear, out of calculation. Is anyone you know already there? Can you sit next to Decimus without judgment? Is Caius in a talkative mood? Because some men chat. They treat it like a social hour with unfortunate acoustics. Others go silent, heads down, eyes forward, focused on finishing and fleeing. You prefer silence. You nod at Lucius, who's already seated. He nods back. That's the full conversation. You find a spot, not too close, not too far. Lower yourself with care. The stone is cold. Of course it is. The smell hits you next. It's not one smell. It's a concert of them. Ammonia and wet earth. Old vinegar and sweat. The kind of scent that clings to your skin long after you've left. You breathe shallow. Someone coughs. Someone shifts. A bee buzzes past. It's oddly quiet here, despite everything. The sounds of camp fade, muffled by routine and resignation. You reach for the sponge. It sits in a bowl of vinegar water at the end of the trench. One sponge, one stick, for everyone. You don't think about it too hard. You just use it gently, like it's an apology. Then you rinse it, as tradition demands, and place it back. There's no towel. You shake your hands dry, ode, or wipe them on your cloak, depending on the urgency. It's not sanitary, but it is normal. And in this life, normal is holy. A wasp lands on your sandal. You stare at it. It stares back. Then it leaves, unimpressed. You consider staying a moment longer, just to enjoy the break from movement. But someone's waiting. A line is forming. So you stand, adjust your tunic, nod once more to Lucius, and exit. The sun feels hotter after the trench. You wipe your hands again, for luck or habit. Back in camp, you rinse at the washing basin. The water is cloudy. You don't care. You splash it on your face anyway, and for a moment, it feels like something close to clean. But latrines aren't just about waste. They're about rhythm. They remind you that even the strongest soldier still has a schedule set by his stomach. That no amount of glory exempts you from sitting on cold stone next to someone humming tunelessly through their business. It's humbling, it's grounding, and somehow it's bonding. Later that night, someone jokes about the latrine lottery. You laugh, because it's true. Some days you win. Empty trench, no flies, no eye contact. Other days, well, you don't talk about those days. You just carry them with you, tucked somewhere behind your shield, filed under acceptable suffering. The latrines are also a test of balance, of speed, of tolerance, and above all, of unspoken courtesy. You learn to never lock eyes, never comment, never rush someone who looks constipated and emotionally fragile. It's an ecosystem, a delicate one, and when it breaks, you all feel it. There was a day, a month ago, maybe, when a recruit slipped on the stone. Fell in, fully in. He wasn't injured, not physically, but emotionally, he never quite came back from it. Now he eats alone, walks with caution, and has a 1,000-yard stare whenever someone says the word depth. You try not to think about it, but you do, because it could have been anyone. It could have been you. One wrong step. One slippery moment. One miscalculated descent into the most humbling place in camp. So you move carefully, deliberately, with quiet reverence, like visiting a temple built for the worst gods imaginable. The gods of digestion, embarrassment, and endurance. There are moments when the latrine feels like the only honest place in camp. There's no rank there, no shine, no speeches, just men, tired, silent, vulnerable. All of you equals, all of you human. In a life where you wear armor to meals and march half asleep with a sword digging into your ribs, there's something oddly pure about the ritual of relieving yourself in the open with 20 witnesses and one shared sponge. It's horrible. It's routine. It's peace. As night falls, you return once more. Not because you want to, because your stomach insists. This time, it's quieter. Cooler. The stars peek out above the trench wall. Someone's humming again. This time, it doesn't bother you. You sit, you exhale, you stare at nothing, and in the stillness, something strange happens. You feel fine, not comfortable, not clean, not free, but fine, steady, accepted, and when you leave, stepping carefully over the threshold between filth and firelight, you feel lighter, not just physically, but in some tiny, indescribable way, mentally, too. Because here, in this empire of discipline and discomfort, it's the smallest reliefs that keep you whole. And for today, the smallest relief came on a cold stone, under a quiet sky, beside men who said nothing and understood everything. The morning trumpet sounds before the light fully arrives. You're already awake, because the camp never really sleeps, not with 50 men breathing around you, not with armor that never stops creaking. You sit up slowly. The blanket clings to your back. The air is damp, but not cold. Not yet. You swing your feet over the edge of the cot. The floor is packed earth, hard, ridged, familiar. You stretch your arms. Something in your neck pops. You nod. Good enough. You dress quickly. Tunic. Belt. Straps crossed over your chest. Your boots are stiff from yesterday's mud. You slide your foot in anyway. Pain says hello. You say nothing. That's the exchange. Outside, the camp stirs in layers. First, the coughing. Then the clatter of metal on metal. Someone's helmet falling. Then footsteps. Always footsteps. Caius appears beside you. Hair like straw. Eyes too alert. He says nothing. Hands you bread. You chew. It's yesterday's loaf. Probably the day before that, too. Still, it's food. And it doesn't fight back. Breakfast. No honey. No fruit. Just survival in crust form. The centurion yells, "Time to move." You strap on your gladius. The belt creaks in protest. Your back does, too. The column forms near the edge of the camp. You line up without being told. You don't talk. No one does. There's no energy for it. Not today. The orders are clear. March. No known destination. Just distance. You begin. The pack on your shoulders digs in. It always does, no matter how you adjust it. Inside, 3 days of rations, half a cloak, spare sandals, whetstone, flask, rope, shovel, half your life, wrapped in a sack that rubs your spine. The road is uneven, gravel in places, packed mud in others. Your feet know not to hope. Caius hums under his breath, off-key. Comforting. You walk. The heat doesn't rise. It appears, like a curtain pulled back all at once. Your skin slicks with sweat. Your tunic sticks to your ribs. You keep walking, because what else is there? You pass a marker stone, 50 miles from somewhere, or maybe 50 left to go. No one checks. The march is measured by blisters now. You think about the last bath you had. 3 weeks ago? 5? It doesn't matter. You stopped smelling yourself 2 days in. Everyone else smells the same. You pass a dead bird on the path. Flies hover. No one reacts. You keep walking. Boots hit earth. 100 men. In rhythm. Like thunder you can't outrun. By midday, you're not tired. You're emptied. Sweat has replaced thought. The pack is part of your spine now. Your sword hangs like an accusation at your hip. You ignore it. You keep walking. Lunch is a pause under a tree that barely throws shade. You sit. You breathe. You chew dried beans. You regret nothing. You regret everything. Someone passes a flask. You sip, warm water, but wet is wet. You hand it back. Caius sits beside you. He says, "You think we'll stop tonight?" You shrug. "Maybe." "Think we'll fight?" You shrug again. Then lie back on the dirt. Stare at the sky. Blue and endless. Like a joke no one finishes. The trumpet calls again. Time to move. You groan. Quietly. Everyone else groans too. That makes it okay. You stand. Your knees argue. You ignore them. Back on the road. The next few hours disappear. You don't walk anymore. You float inside your body. Feet moving without instruction. Just forward. Always forward. A man stumbles up ahead. Trips. Falls. Curses. The centurion doesn't stop. No one does. He rises again. Or doesn't. You don't turn to check. You just walk. The sun begins to soften. Not set. Just lower its voice. That helps. A little. Your pack still aches. Your sword still hangs like a threat. But the air shifts. And your spine remembers the word almost. Almost done. Almost there. Almost human. Finally. The signal. Stop. Set camp. You drop the pack with the reverence of someone unburdening shame. You stretch your neck. Roll your shoulders. Feel everything. Then feel nothing. The fire is started. Water boiled. Grain dumped into a pot. The smell is bland and beautiful. You sit with your back against a cart. Caius beside you. Decimus on the other side. Sharpening his blade for the third time today. You eat. It's warm. It's enough. Then silence. The good kind. The kind that feels like breath. You stare into the flames. You wonder if your family sees the same sky tonight. You wonder if they think about the shape of your hands. You wonder if they remember your voice. You hope so, because after a day like this, you've forgotten how it sounded. You lie down on your back. The stars appear one by one. You count 3, then stop, because sleep arrives faster than memory. And for now, that's the best gift the gods offer Roman soldiers like you. Your eyes flutter open again for a moment. Someone coughs. Another groans in his sleep. The fire pops, then hisses. You hear the crackle of leather. Someone rolling over in their gear. You turn your head. Caius is snoring softly. You almost smile. Almost. The stars above have multiplied. So many. You stop trying to count. Your fingers twitch once, like they're still holding the strap of your pack. They aren't. You wiggle your toes. The boots are off. That feels like a victory. Tiny. Sacred. You think about writing a letter tomorrow. You won't. But you think about it. It would start with, "I'm still alive." And maybe that's enough. Maybe the act of thinking the words is almost the same as saying them. Maybe someone shifts nearby. The centurion, maybe you can feel his presence in the quiet. Watching. Always watching. But not unkind. Just tired. Like the rest of you. You pull your cloak tighter. Not for warmth, but to feel the shape of something familiar against your chest. You close your eyes again, and this time, you don't open them. Not until the trumpet calls again. Part 11. The sun slips down without ceremony, leaving behind a sky stained with fading light and a quiet that feels heavier than silence. You don't need to be told your watch is near. You feel it. In your spine. In the way your hands tighten around the leather strap of your cloak. In the way the laughter around the campfire has already started to thin. Second watch. Not early enough to rest properly. Not late enough to be close to morning. It is the loneliest shift. And somehow, always yours. You check your gear by feel. Your fingers move out of rhythm with your thoughts. You're not awake, not asleep, just aware. The spear leans against the side of your tent. The cloak already smells like wood smoke and nervous sweat. You fasten the buckle, stretch your neck. No one says anything as you pass. They've all done their turn. They understand. The fire crackles beside you, too cheerful for the hour. It spits a spark that floats for a second, then vanishes, like everything does out here. You nod to the centurion. He doesn't nod back, just jerks his chin. That's how he tells you it's time. The sky above has darkened into something deep. Not black, but endless. The kind of dark that could swallow sound. You step away from the last warmth and toward the edge of the world, past the last tent, past the carts, past the lines of sleeping forms under wool and dirt, out to where the forest begins its whispering. The watchpost isn't much, a cleared patch of grass, a narrow path with rocks on either side. You plant your spear in the dirt, lean your shield against your leg, then wait. That's the job. Not fighting, not chasing, just waiting, just being there in case. You listen, you look, you breathe. The night air is cold and sharp. You can smell the moisture gathering on the leaves, the soil, even your own clothes. The first half hour is always the hardest. Your body resists the stillness. It wants to fidget, to pace, but movement is noise, and noise is attention. So you stand, you shift your weight now and then, you roll your shoulders. Nothing more. Your eyes adjust. The trees stop looking like threats, start looking like walls. You try not to blink too much. You try not to think at all. A twig snaps. You freeze. Your grip on the spear tightens. The sound came from the left, somewhere near the thicket. You stare at the spot for a full minute. 2. Nothing moves. You wait. You want to ask, "Who's there?" But you don't. That's a thing people in stories do. And in stories, they rarely survive the answer. You decide it was a rabbit, maybe a deer. You don't believe it, but you decide it anyway. Time stretches. Minutes melt together. You check the stars, looking for the ones you know. One has vanished behind clouds. Another you can't find at all. You shift your feet slightly. The ground here is uneven, filled with roots. You think about your bedroll, how it's probably warm from your body, even in your absence. You wonder if anyone is snoring on your side of the tent. You hope not. You want sleep to feel distant right now, not stolen. An hour in, your mind starts to wander. It always does. You try to bring it back. Count your breaths. Count the stones near your feet. Count the seconds between each hoot of the owl in the distance. You think about the last letter you received, the one that smelled faintly of bread. Your sister had written it, just 3 lines. "We miss you. Father's back is worse." The goat had twins. You'd read it 6 times and carried it for weeks. Movement behind you, soft, careful, a shadow. You don't turn, you don't speak, but your fingers shift. The weight of the spear tilts just a bit more forward. The figure steps into view. It's the next man on rotation. He's early, or maybe time has run faster than you thought. He places his hand on your shoulder, not friendly, not commanding, just a touch that means I'm here now. You nod, pass him the spear. It's his watch now, his silence. You walk back toward the fire. It looks smaller than before, or maybe the night is bigger. You sit, stretch your legs. Let the warmth crawl up your hands and arms. Someone hands you the flask. You drink. The wine is bitter, but it works. It drags your mind back into your skull. Decimus stirs beside you, rubbing his hands together. "Quiet out there?" he asks. You nod. "Quiet's not always good," he says. You say nothing. You lie back on the ground near the fire, your hands behind your head. The stars blink overhead. They don't twinkle like songs say. They pulse, like heartbeats. You search for familiar shapes. The archer, the wolf, the eye of the goddess who never blinks. You try to imagine her watching you, not to protect, just to see. Just so you're not invisible. You think about tomorrow, about marching, about whether your boots will hold another week, about the calluses on your hands, about the soup, about the letter you never wrote back, about how much harder it is to say I'm fine when it isn't true. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to stop seeing for a moment. Your hand rests on the hilt of your belt knife, not because you expect anything, but because your fingers don't know what else to do. The fire crackles. Someone turns in their sleep. Someone hums softly. Maybe Caius. Maybe not. You breathe in through your nose. The smoke fills your lungs, then slips out in a sigh. Night passes like this, not in events, but in stillness, in breaths counted, in thoughts chased off and returning, in memories you try not to hold too tightly. Midday arrives like an afterthought. No horn, no signal, just a heaviness that settles over your shoulders and wraps around your spine. The sun above you is high and unrelenting. Its heat presses down more than it shines. Your tunic sticks to your back. The pack digs into your hips. You haven't sat down in hours. And yet, when the order comes to halt, you're almost surprised. The column pauses beside a bend in the road, not because it's scenic, because it's wide enough to stop without being trampled. You drop your pack with a grunt you didn't plan. Your knees pop as you lower yourself onto a stone. Caius sits nearby, already pulling a heel of bread from his satchel. He doesn't offer it. He just breaks it in two and hands you half. You nod. No words. Not now. Your hands are filthy. You eat anyway. The crust is so hard it hurts your teeth. The inside is dry. But there's a comfort in chewing, in doing something that isn't walking, that isn't waiting for the next order. The dust on your tongue mixes with the bread. You swallow hard. Drink from your flask. It's warm water, but it helps. A breeze tries to pass through the trees. Fails. You feel it falter halfway to your skin. The trees offer shade, but not much. Still, you lean back against one. Close your eyes. Let your head rest. You're not asleep, but you're no longer entirely awake. Your body softens, slightly. The aches don't vanish. They just fade into the background. Your boots are off. Your feet thank you in their own silent language. You glance down at them. Blisters, cracked skin, grime in every line. But they've carried you. Still do. You tap one toe against the dirt, just to feel something. Nearby, someone chuckles, then coughs. The cough lasts longer, then fades. You don't look. You've heard it before. The sound of men trying to clear their lungs, or clear their thoughts. Neither works. Decimus sits across from you, sharpening his knife with slow, bored strokes. Not because it needs it, but because hands hate stillness, his eyes stay on the blade. But you know he's listening. Everyone always is. Someone pulls out cheese from their pack. It smells like travel, like fabric, like heat. They share. You get a piece the size of your thumb. You chew slowly. It's salty, crumbly, better than it should be. You find yourself holding the taste on your tongue longer than necessary, because it feels like a reward. And rewards are rare. Caius leans back against the same tree. You feel the weight of him shift the bark. His head tips toward the sky. He says, "Feels like we've been marching since birth." You say nothing, because it's not a joke. Not really. You hear birds overhead. Or maybe it's leaves. Or maybe you imagined it. Your brain is soft now, melted slightly by the sun, by the repetition. You stretch your legs. They ache in new places. Places that weren't sore this morning. That's how the day ages you. In patches, in blinks. You think about sleep, not night sleep, but that moment just before it, when your body forgets itself, when you're neither here nor somewhere else. You chase it for a moment, then let it go. The centurion walks by, helmet under his arm, face unreadable. He scans the line, sees nothing wrong, moves on. You stare after him, not out of concern, just out of habit. Leaders pass. Time passes. You blink again. The sun has shifted. Shadows now crawl across the dirt in new directions. A signal. Brake's almost done. You feel it in the way people start to shift. Stretching backs. Repacking gear. No one says anything, but the pause is ending. You grab your boots. Slide them on. They're no more forgiving than before, but they're familiar. You tie the laces with care, not out of pride, out of necessity. Loose boots mean loose skin. Loose skin means blood. You stand slowly. Pack on. Weight returned. Caius stands beside you, groans, then smirks. Only 12 more miles. You raise an eyebrow. Today? He shrugs. Maybe. You both know he's joking. Probably. You fall in line again. The column reforms without order. Boots to dirt. Armor shifting. The sound of men becoming machines. You take one last look at the stone where you sat. It will forget you. You won't forget it. Not because it mattered, but because it let you pause. And pausing, in a soldier's day, is sacred. You take a breath, and then you move. Again. As the line begins to move again, you glance down at your hands. One knuckle is cracked. There's dirt under every fingernail. You rub your thumb across your palm. It catches on the edge of a callus. Your hands weren't always like this. You try to remember what they used to feel like. Soft? Maybe. You're not sure anymore. The road ahead winds into a gentle incline. Your legs protest. Your mind sighs. The pack settles into the same groove on your back it always finds. You adjust the strap anyway. It won't help, but doing something makes it feel better. Caius mutters something about dinner. You don't respond, not because you disagree, but because dinner is hours and miles away. He knows that. He just wants to speak something lighter into the heat, and maybe that's worth more than accuracy. You pass a tree with 3 notches in its bark. You passed it yesterday, or one just like it. It feels like a loop, like the world is walking in circles and dragging you with it. You wonder if Rome even exists anymore. You haven't seen a city in weeks. You haven't seen anything but dirt and the backs of other men. But still, you walk. Not because you believe in where you're going, but because stopping isn't your decision. And that's the most Roman thing about you. The dust rises again. Your throat tightens. You cough once. Then keep walking. The sun watches, but offers nothing. No comfort. No applause. Just heat. You press forward anyway, because you always do, because that's what you were trained for. To move. To endure. To wear the day until the day wears out. The sun begins to dip, but the march doesn't stop. Evening isn't a finish line. It's just another kind of heat. Softer, maybe, but no more forgiving. The pack on your shoulders still feels like it grew heavier with each hour. But you keep walking, because everyone else does. And no one wants to be the first to ask how much farther. You try to guess the time by the length of your shadow. Then give up. It doesn't matter. Time isn't yours anymore. Distance is. The terrain shifts beneath your boots. Less gravel now, more dust. It puffs with each step, clinging to your legs, your arms, your breath. Your throat feels raw. You cough once, then again. Caius offers the last of his water. You nod thanks and sip. Warm, but real. The kind of kindness no one mentions, but no one forgets. A trumpet sounds, not a call to arms, just a signal. The kind you feel in your bones before your ears. Camp. Finally. You don't cheer. No one does. But the pace slows. Slightly, Enough to feel like a promise. You find your spot without being told. Just another patch of land. Flattish, not full of ants. That's all you need. You drop your pack, not carefully, just enough to let the weight stop touching you. For a few minutes, you stand over it, swaying slightly. Then you sit, legs out, back stiff, the kind of tired that's deeper than sore. Around you, others do the same. Grunts, creaks, a few curses, then the quiet. That good kind again. The kind that says, you survived the day. The fire is built without ceremony. Too small for heat, just enough for cooking. Smoke curls upward, slow and steady. The smell of grain and onion floats out from the pot. You inhale, not because it smells good, but because it means food, and food means pause. Decimus tosses you a cup. You nod. Caius ladles in the stew. You hold it in your hands like it might run away. It's hot. Too hot. You wait anyway. First bite burns your tongue. Second doesn't. You chew, swallow, taste nothing. Still, you keep eating, because this is what meals are now. Warm, quiet, necessary. No one talks much. Someone hums. Someone else sharpens a spoon. It doesn't matter why. It just matters they are. You shift to sit cross-legged. Back still aching, but the food helps. The pause helps more. You look up. The sky has gone violet at the edges. A few stars peek through. You count 3, then 5. Then forget the rest. Someone nearby is cleaning their boots. You're not sure why. They'll be ruined again by morning. But maybe that's the point. To control the little things. When the big ones aren't yours to change. You take a second helping. Caius hands it to you without looking. You nod again. Grateful, but not surprised. He's always like this at camp. No jokes. No songs. Just quiet generosity. You like that about him. You finish eating. Wipe the bowl with a crust of bread. It scrapes the bottom. Leaves nothing behind. You don't waste. Not out here. A voice calls from the other side of camp. You hear your name. It doesn't sound urgent. You don't answer right away. Just sit. Wait. Let them come to you. If it matters. They don't. So you stay and stare at the fire. It's lower now. The wood burns slow. Soft cracks. A hiss. Then quiet again. Caius leans back on his elbows. Says, feels longer today. You nod. He's right. Not in miles. In weight. The weight of not stopping. Of not asking questions. Of being told nothing and doing everything anyway. You lie back slowly. The ground is hard. But your body is harder. You let it hold you. Your hands rest on your chest. Your eyes follow smoke until it disappears. You try to remember what day it is. Then stop trying. You don't need to know. You just need to wake up when they tell you to. And march when they say march. That's enough. For now, someone sings a lullaby. Not loud, not good, but sincere. You don't know the words. You don't need to. They fold into the night like an extra blanket. A murmur of comfort, of memory, of something soft in a day built from stone. You close your eyes. Just for a moment, you listen. To the scraping of bowls. To the soft curses at stubborn knots. To the breath of 100 men learning how to be still again. It's not peace, but it's the shape of it. And sometimes, that's close enough. Someone walks by, armor clinking gently. A centurion, a guard, it doesn't matter. You don't open your eyes. Your body is still humming, not from energy, from the echo of movement that hasn't left your muscles yet. Like you're still marching, even as you lie still. A stone digs into your back. You shift once, then accept it. Some comforts are too much to ask for. Caius pulls his cloak tighter. You hear the fabric shift. You feel the breeze catch your face. Cool, not cold. The kind of air that means the night will be kind. If it chooses. A cup is refilled. Someone snores once. loudly, then silence. You hear someone whisper a prayer. You don't join, but you listen. The words are quiet, honest, for someone far away, or maybe for no one. You don't judge them. You don't feel anything at all, except still, except here, except enough. The messenger always arrives just after midday, when the sun is highest and everyone moves the slowest. He comes dusty, tired, and silent, his tunic clinging to his back, his sandals nearly worn through. The moment he enters the edge of camp, a change rolls through the ranks, not loud, not rushed, but felt, like a held breath, like the rustling of 1,000 questions beneath every shield and behind every pair of eyes. He carries a satchel, leather, creased, heavy with paper but light with hope. The centurion takes it, nods once, and walks to his tent. No one follows. You know better. You wait. Everyone does. The list will be read soon enough. Caius paces. Decimus sharpens his knife on a stone that's already smooth. You sit still, carving lines into the dirt with a stick, pretending not to care, pretending the weight in your chest is from hunger and not from expectation. Minutes pass. Then your name is called, not first, not last, but called. You stand slowly, like you're afraid if you move too quickly, the letter might vanish. The parchment is warm from being pressed against others. You take it like it's fragile, because it is, not the paper, what's inside. You don't open it right away. You walk back to the tree you always choose. You sit in its crooked shadow, and only then do you unfold it. 3 lines. No greeting. No farewell. We are alive. The harvest was small. Your brother left. You read it twice. A third time. The ink is faded in places. You trace the letters with your finger, like touching them might bring the words closer. You don't know whether to smile or frown. So you do neither. You fold it again. Press it flat against your knee, then tuck it into your belt. That's it. That's home today. Caius reads his aloud. He always does. It's how he pretends the words weren't meant for him alone. His sister sent it. Something about the bakery and a dog that won't stop barking. He laughs too loud. You nod along. Decimus got nothing. You see it in the way he stays seated, in the way he doesn't look toward the centurion's tent at all. He's not angry, just already accustomed to the silence. You think about the last letter you sent, the one you never finished. You'd started it during a rainstorm. 1 sentence in, the ink ran and the paper tore. You never tried again. What would you say, anyway? I'm alive. I'm tired. We walk too much. And the bread is always stale. Would they want to hear that? Would they read between the lines? Or would they just be grateful for any shape of your handwriting? You remember how your mother used to hold your letters to her chest before opening them. How your father would nod quietly and return to work like he hadn't been waiting by the door for the messenger all morning. You think about writing tonight, not because you have anything new to say, but because maybe someone back home needs to read a sentence that begins with your name. You look around. Caius is now asking someone to read their letter out loud, a young recruit, barely shaved. He declines, softly. Good. Some things are too fragile to be shared. Across camp, someone sings. Not well, but familiar. The same melody you heard weeks ago when a boy received news of his cousin's wedding. The same one hummed after a funeral. It's not a happy song or a sad one. It just is. The sun dips lower. Shadows stretch long and thin. Someone brings bread, olives, a small piece of cheese, broken in 2 and passed hand to hand. No one eats fast. Even bad food deserves to be savored on letter days, especially on letter days. You chew slowly. You watch the fire come to life. You watch Caius fall asleep, letter still in his hand. You watch Decimus sit beside the flame, sharpening that same knife. Slower now. You take the letter from your belt, unfold it again, not to read, just to hold. You stare at the ink like it might change if the light hits it differently. You don't know why your brother left. You don't know if you'll ever find out. Maybe he had to. Maybe he didn't say goodbye. You fold it a second time, this time more carefully, this time with a crease that means you want it to last. Later, you pull out a blank scrap. You sit by the fire. The words don't come. So you write what you know. The nights are long. The days are longer. But I am still here. You pause. Then add, I hope you are too. You sign only your first name, the one your sister always wrote in cursive. You leave it open beside you as you lie back. Let the stars appear one by one. Some you name, some you don't. Some are yours, some never were. But all of them are here tonight, and so are you. A breeze moves through the camp. It lifts the corners of tents, flutters cloaks hung to dry. Someone coughs. A horse shifts. It's the kind of night where time doesn't feel like it's moving, just circling. You stare at your unfinished letter and wonder if you should say more. But sometimes, too many words are heavier than silence. You leave it as it is. Tomorrow, if the satchel opens again, maybe yours will go with it, or maybe not. You look across the camp one last time. Most are already curled beneath blankets. Some write, some stare, some just breathe. You fold the paper, tuck it into your pouch, and press your palm against it for a second longer than needed. You tell yourself you'll sleep now. You tell yourself it doesn't matter whether they write back. But somewhere beneath your ribs, you hope the ink reaches them whole, that the folds stay unbroken, that your name makes someone smile. And that next time, the letter you receive says more than just 3 lines. Just once, you'd like someone to ask you how you're really doing. It starts with permission, a rare word in the camp, a notice posted by the latrine wall. Bathhouse access granted. The scroll flaps in the wind, and by midday, everyone knows. A murmur runs through the ranks. Some cheer. Some grunt. You just nod. Tomorrow, it's your unit's turn. You haven't been properly clean in weeks. Dust and oil cling to your skin like they belong to you. When the sun rises, you're already awake. No armor today. Just cloak and sandals and the dull ache of muscles eager for warmth. You walk in quiet formation toward the stone structure on the hill. The bathhouse rises like a promise. Arches, steam, pale light behind a veil of mist. Inside, the air is warm and wet, like stepping into a sigh. You undress slowly, not for modesty, but because your body protests every movement. You leave your belt, your sandals, your name behind. Everything is steam now. You step into the tepidarium first, the warm room. A bench of smooth stone, walls sweating. The man beside you doesn't speak. Neither do you. There is an understanding that silence comes first. Then the oil, a jar passed hand to hand. You rub it onto your skin, rancid but familiar. You scrape it away with a strigil, dragging days of sweat, grime, and regret off your limbs. It feels like peeling away a version of yourself that's no longer needed. Caius mutters something about smelling like olives and goat. Someone laughs. A short, wet sound. A soldier coughs in the corner. No one asks if he's all right. In the caldarium, the hot room, you sit close to the floor. Steam rising in sheets. The air is thick, too thick to carry words. So instead, you sweat. You close your eyes and let the heat climb into your joints, your back, the folds of your memory. You remember bathing as a child, in a wooden tub behind your mother's house. The smell of mint soap. The way your brother would splash too hard. The way your mother would scold, then smile anyway. The memory stings more than the heat. Someone pours water on the stones. A hiss, a wave of warmth. You don't open your eyes. You listen to the breath beside you, to the sound of water dripping from elbows, to the brief, tired laugh of a man who remembered something pleasant for the first time in weeks. Then comes the plunge, the frigidarium, the cold pool. You step in slowly, then faster. The shock punches the air from your chest. You don't yell, you just breathe. Hard, fast, then calmer. Your skin tightens. Your thoughts sharpen. You dunk your head. The world disappears. When you surface, the noise of the bathhouse returns. Echoes, drips. A soldier telling a story about a woman in Gaul. You step out and sit on the edge. Dripping, listening. You wrap a cloth around your waist. Your skin is pink and alive. You almost feel new. Almost outside, the sun hasn't moved much. The camp is still there. The noise, the waiting. But for a brief window, you've stepped sideways out of time. You dry your feet. You watch Decimus try to wring his cloak dry with one hand. He fails, shrugs, wraps it anyway. He catches your eye and smirks. It's the closest thing to a smile you've seen from him in days. Back in the tepidarium, someone sings, off-key, but soft. No one interrupts. Even the centurion lets it play out. When it ends, no one claps, but no one moves either. Like holding on to the last chord of a forgotten song, you lie back on the stone bench, eyes closed. Your body sinks, heavy, but at ease. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime, you let go of needing to be strong, needing to be vigilant. You just are. When you sit up again, you dress in silence. The straps feel looser, the tunic lighter. Even your feet touch the floor differently, as if they remember what comfort is. Outside, someone offers you an apple. You take it, crunch it, sweet, mealy, perfect. Caius nudges you and says, "We should lose wars more often." You shake your head, but smile. Back at camp, no one asks how the bath was. They don't need to. They see it in your skin, in the way you sit a little straighter, in the way you don't sigh when you lace your sandals. Later that night, someone drops a bowl. No one yells. Someone spills wine. No one curses. The silence that follows isn't fear. It's peace. Not lasting, but real. For that one evening, the tent smells like mint, like oil, like heat, like the memory of being human again. That night, as you lie beneath the tent's faded fabric, the bathhouse still clings to you, not just in the scent of oil or the faint echo of laughter, but in the weight that has momentarily lifted from your chest. You shift on your cot, and the straw underneath sighs. You are clean, not holy, not renewed, just clean, and that's enough. Decimus is already asleep. Caius hums something tuneless, barely audible, like a lullaby forgotten halfway through. You think about writing a letter, something like, "Today, I remembered what it was like to feel water on my skin." But you don't. Some things lose power when trapped in ink. So instead, you let the memory play in your bones. The heat, the cold, the way your breath returned to you when you weren't holding it against the world. You close your eyes. You do not pray, but you thank the stones, the steam, the silence. And just before sleep takes you, you imagine the bathhouse rising again tomorrow. Not because it will, but because you now know what it meant to forget yourself long enough to feel whole again. There are days when nothing happens. No messenger, no drills, no orders, no news. Just the dust settling where it always does. And the sun pretending it hasn't passed this way 1,000 times before. Today is one of those days. You wake up slowly, not from sleep, but from stillness, as if your body forgot it was supposed to move. You sit up, not because you want to, but because lying down has become just as tiring. Caius grumbles. Decimus doesn't speak. You lace your sandals, stretch your arms, then look around for something to do. There is nothing. That's the problem. Boredom arrives without warning, but once it's here, it settles in, like fog in your bones. You sweep the tent floor, even though it's already clean. You fold your blanket 3 times, then unfold it again. You check your belt knife for rust, even though you cleaned it yesterday, and the day before, and every day this week. Outside, the air is warm but dull. You walk slowly. Your shadow follows like it's unsure of you. There is no wind. The banners hang limp. The carts creak occasionally, but no one pushes them. They just exist, like you. Caius starts balancing pebbles, one atop the other, 5 high, then 6, then 7, until the 7th falls, and he curses under his breath. Decimus is still sharpening the same blade. You're starting to wonder if it even needs sharpening anymore, or if he just needs the motion. You sit beside him. He doesn't look up. You ask, "Do you ever think the boredom is worse than marching?" He pauses, then nods once, not because he agrees, but because it's a true question, and true questions don't always need answers. Someone walks past. You don't know his name. He doesn't know yours, but he nods. You nod back. That's enough. You pick up a twig, start drawing lines in the dirt, circles, boxes, a house. Then you erase it with your foot. Too childish. You try to think of something to write, a letter, but who would want to read about dust and knives and the way boredom creeps into the fold behind your knee? Still, you try, you write. We did nothing today. We are good at it now. You crumple the page. Tuck it into your belt anyway. It's better than silence. Caius starts humming, a slow tune, one without rhythm. You join in, not with your voice, but by tapping your fingers. A rock, a stick, a boot heel. It becomes something, almost music, until someone else groans and throws a crust of bread at you. You stop, not because it hurt, because it was fair. Someone laughs, then silence again. Lunch is the same as yesterday. Bread, olives, cheese, that's too hard. No one complains, but no one says thank you either. Food isn't a gift here. It's a pause, a line break in the monotony. Afterwards, you lie on your back, watch the clouds move too slowly. You find a shape, a bird. Then it drifts apart. You try to find it again. You can't. Caius throws a stone at Decimus's foot. He doesn't flinch, just says, "Try again." So Caius does, hits the toe. Decimus smirks. Caius says, "I win." Decimus says, "That was never the game." You sit up, ask, "Then what is the game?" Neither of them answers. You all just sit there, watching each other, and somehow that feels like enough. Later, someone brings out a deck of bones. Dice. Caius rolls first, then you, then Decimus. You win 2 rolls, then lose 3. No one keeps score. No one cares. It's not about winning. It's about movement, noise, distraction. Even when the dice bounce the same way every time, even when you know the numbers before they land, eventually, the game stops. Not because it ends, but because interest fades, like everything else. You stand, stretch, walk to the edge of camp, stare at the tree line. It hasn't moved. Of course it hasn't. But still, you check. You breathe in. The air tastes like metal. You don't know why. You turn around. Caius is lying flat, arms out, staring at the sky like he's waiting to fall upward. Decimus is carving a stick into nothing. The camp is still, too still. You close your eyes, just for a second. You dream you're walking, not marching, just walking through a field, barefoot. Then you wake, still sitting, still here, still waiting for something that doesn't have a name. Someone sneezes. Someone else says nothing. That's how close you are to becoming a statue. But statues don't hum. And Decimus starts humming. You join again, not for long, just enough to remind each other you're still human. Even when the boredom tries to scrape that part away. Even when it almost wins. Almost. That evening, someone sharpens a spoon into a point. No one asks why. Maybe it's for whittling. Maybe it's for control. You nod at the ingenuity, but don't comment. Across the fire, a man builds a tower out of bread crusts. It leans, then falls. He starts over. You ask if it has a name. He shrugs. Better than doing nothing. Decimus stands. He doesn't speak, just walks a tight circle around the fire. Not fast, not slow. Like a hawk circling prey that hasn't appeared. You follow, not because there's danger, because it's something for a moment. You and Decimus walk in quiet orbit. The others join. Now you're 5, 6, 7, circling the fire like a ritual you didn't plan. It doesn't last. Nothing does. Eventually, one by one, you break away. Back to your blankets. Back to the idle stare. Back to the patient silence that has grown teeth. And in the quiet that follows, you realize the boredom didn't break you. You made it move, even just a little, even just enough. You lie back and close your eyes. And for once, boredom doesn't win. Not tonight. You can smell it before you see it. Meat, real meat, spiced, and turning slowly over a borrowed flame. There's bread too, round, warm, not stale. Someone claims to have found honey. Caius says he'll believe it when he tastes it. Decimus shrugs, unimpressed. Feast day, a reward for nothing in particular, or maybe everything. You're not sure anymore. The air around camp has changed. More movement, more voices. Laughter that doesn't sound like armor scraping. You step out of your tent and squint toward the smoke. A table has been set. Wooden crates arranged in a row, covered in canvas. The smell is almost enough to make you forget your aching shoulders. Almost. You wash your face in a tin basin. Brush the dust from your sleeves. Someone hands you a cup of something that might be wine. You sip. It's warm. Too sweet. You drink it anyway. You join the others. Take your seat on the ground. Plates are passed. Bread. Cheese. A sliver of pork that glistens like memory. Someone cheers. Someone sings half a verse of a song you don't remember knowing. Even Decimus chuckles once. It's good, but it's not joy. Not exactly. It's something quieter. Like remembering the sound of your mother humming in the next room. The food has gone too fast. Even the honey, if it existed, disappears before it reaches your crate. You don't mind. You weren't hungry for sweetness. You sit back. Watch Caius throw his arms around a young recruit like they've known each other for years. You see Decimus carve another notch into his belt. You don't ask what it means. You don't need to. Behind the fire, someone sits alone. You recognize him. An older soldier, name unknown. He holds no cup, takes no plate, just sits, staring at the flames. You bring him bread. He nods once, then looks away. That's the thanks. You return to your place. No one asks what you were doing. No one needs to. That's what feast days are. Not celebrations, but intermissions. The fire cracks. Caius tries to start a story. It fizzles halfway through. He laughs anyway. You nod along. Pretend you'd heard the punchline. Then silence settles. Not heavy, just full. The kind of silence you don't need to fill. Later, someone brings out dice. Another brings a pipe. You don't join. You lie on your back. Stare at the sky. and try to imagine how this same night feels at home. You picture your sister cutting herbs in the kitchen, your father humming as he sharpens a blade that no longer sees war. You imagine a feast of vegetables, beans, warm bread, no pork, no wine, but company that knows your name without asking. You close your eyes, open them again. The fire still burns, but lower now. Around you, voices have faded. Some have gone to sleep. Some have gone to think. You stay, because there's nothing wrong, but nothing right either. The feast filled your stomach, but not the part of you that still waits for news, or warmth, or something that tastes like hope. You stand, stretch, walk to the edge of camp, breathe in air that smells of ash and thyme. You sit beside the old man again. Still no plate, still no words. But this time, when you sit, he doesn't look away. He just nods. And for a moment, you share the fire. You don't need a reason. You don't need a story. You just sit together. And that's the closest either of you has felt to full all day. Someone jokes that tomorrow they'll serve figs and music and pretend this is Rome. No one laughs, but someone smirks. Another shrugs and says he'd take just the figs. The joke dies quickly. Feast days are strange like that. They bring out old memories and new silence. You wander toward the edge of the gathering, where fewer voices stretch. There you find a man writing, on real parchment, ink pot balanced on his knee. He doesn't look up, but he knows you're there. You don't ask what he's writing. He doesn't offer. It's enough just to see someone trying to make sense of the day. You nod once and keep walking. You pass 2 recruits practicing coin tricks. Badly. One drops it 3 times. Still, they cheer each other on. Another group tries a drinking song. It falls apart after the second verse. Someone replaces it with humming. That holds longer. The notes aren't happy, but they're familiar. That's better. You sit by the fire again. Farther this time, watching silhouettes blur. Smoke softens the faces, blurs the lines between men, between memories. Caius finally falls asleep sitting up. Decimus sharpens the same knife again. You begin peeling splinters from the side of your seat. You lose count, then stop trying. The flames settle low. You warm your palms, then hold them above your chest. Pretending the heat can reach something deeper, someone begins a quiet prayer. You don't recognize the words, but you understand the tone. Not asking, not begging, just remembering. You close your eyes and listen, until the voice fades into the wood smoke, until the night holds only breath and distance. You wonder if the old man has eaten. You glance back. His plate is still empty. You feel a tightness in your chest. Not hunger, not grief, but something smaller, like absence. You reach into your cloak, break off your own crust, and walk it to him. This time, he takes it in both hands. He doesn't thank you. He doesn't need to. He chews slowly, purposefully, and in that quiet moment, you realize this was never about food. It never is. It begins with a breeze, not the kind that cools, the kind that warns, the kind that slides down your spine and makes the hairs on your arms lift like they've heard something first. Caius says it smells like rain. Decimus doesn't say anything. He just checks the leather around his pack. The sky is still pale when the first drops fall. Not loud, not even fast, just deliberate, like the world is testing you. The centurion calls orders. Cloaks on, straps tighter, form up. You march anyway, because there is no shelter here, because you have nowhere else to go. The rain thickens, then deepens, then becomes something more than rain. It becomes everything. It fills your ears. It runs down your back. It clings to the inside of your cloak. The road beneath you turns soft, then slick, then invisible. You no longer step, you slide. Boots sink. Hands reach for one another when someone stumbles. No one speaks. No one curses. There's no energy for that. Just movement. Forward, one step at a time. You can't remember when your socks gave up. They stopped pretending to keep you dry 2 hills ago. Now they're just wet rope wrapped around your feet. Your thighs ache from lifting higher than usual. Every step is a pull. Every breath is damp. The rain drips off your nose, your chin, your eyebrows. You blink constantly, not because you need to see, just to feel something else moving. You hear someone fall behind you, then rise again. You don't turn, because you know they'll either catch up or they won't. And either way, the column moves on. The road disappears, becomes field. Then field becomes mud, deep, slick. It sucks at your boots like it wants to keep them. You lose one for a second, then yank it free. The noise it makes is obscene, but no one laughs. Not today. The man behind you slips, grabs your shoulder. You steady him. He nods. Doesn't let go right away. You don't mind. You keep moving. The storm no longer feels like weather. It feels like punishment, or maybe absolution. It washes everything, even memory. You think of dry nights by the fire. You think of meals that stayed warm long enough to finish. You think of writing letters with dry hands. You don't think long, because the moment you do, your foot catches, you stumble forward. Catch yourself with both hands in the muck. You hear someone behind you swear under their breath. Maybe for you. Maybe just because. You push up. Wipe your hands on your tunic. It makes no difference. Everything's soaked. Eventually, the rain softens, but the damage stays. The mud doesn't forgive. It remembers every step and holds it. The march ends early. The centurion sees the slope ahead and calls a stop. You drop to one knee, then to both, then sit. Not because you're done, because the earth insists. You don't take off your cloak. You don't move at all. You just let the steam rise off your skin, like smoke from a doused flame. Caius coughs nearby. Decimus wrings out his sleeve and watches it drip. You look at your hands. They look older than you remember. You don't feel proud. You don't feel broken. You just feel. Someone offers a strip of dried meat. You take it. Chew. Swallow. Taste nothing. You drink from your flask. It's rain now. Collected on accident. Still, it's cold. You pass it on. No words. The clouds still move, but slower now, like even they are tired. Camp is set badly. No one cares. Tents lean. Ropes sack. Fires sputter. You gather sticks that won't burn. Try anyway. The smoke is thin, uncommitted. But it's smoke. That's enough. Caius finally sits beside you. He doesn't complain, just sighs, like that's all he can spare. You nod, then close your eyes, not to sleep, just to shut out the gray. As night settles in, the rain slows but doesn't stop. It becomes a presence, not a threat, just something you carry with you now. The tent flaps snap in the wind. You secure yours with an extra knot, knowing it won't hold forever. Inside, the ground is wet. The blanket is damp, but you sit anyway. Legs crossed, cloak draped over your shoulders like a tired wing. Across the fire pit, Decimus pokes at embers that won't catch. They say Jupiter controls the storms. He mutters. You raise an eyebrow. He must be in a mood. Caius chuckles, a short, broken sound. Then silence again, the kind that follows old jokes and older wounds. Someone nearby curses at their boots. Another soldier empties water from his helmet like he's been doing it all his life. You lean back against a post and let the ache in your back stretch out into the sky. There's nothing left to do. No armor to polish. No plans to make. No letters to write. Wet parchment won't hold ink anyway. You think of your mother's kitchen, the way rain sounded on her roof. You wonder if she hears it now and thinks of you. You wonder if she still sets an extra place. You wonder what it would feel like to be dry again. You don't know how long you sit like that, but eventually, someone manages to start a fire, a small one. The smoke rises crooked. Everyone edges closer. You, Decimus, Caius, even the old man who hasn't spoken since yesterday. He holds his hands out. You watch the steam rise from his fingers. You do the same, and for a breath, you remember what warmth felt like. Even if it won't last, even if the storm returns before morning, even if everything you dry tonight will be soaked again by dawn, it doesn't matter. Right now, the fire is real. So are the people beside you. You lean forward, hold your palms out, and close your eyes. For the first time all day, the rain doesn't win. Not yet. It begins as it always does. A whisper, not loud, not urgent, but sticky. It catches in your ear when someone walks by too slow, when someone pauses too long near the fire. You don't know who said it first. You never do. But it spreads anyway. Someone says the orders have changed. Another says they haven't. Someone else swears we'll be moving north, or west, or home. You ask Decimus what he's heard. He shrugs, sharpening again. That's answer enough. Caius says he heard from a messenger who wasn't supposed to be in camp, that the legate is dead, that his replacement is worse. You nod. Say nothing, because rumors don't need your help. They grow just fine on silence. You spend the day watching people instead of the horizon. They pack slower. They eat quicker. They polish boots that haven't touched road in days. Everyone's doing something, but no one's asking why. You find yourself checking your kit 3 times, even though you know everything's there, even though nothing's changed. Except everything has, because when people stop trusting the air, they breathe differently. That night, the fire feels too loud. Every log crack like it's announcing news you haven't been told. You sit with your cup and your silence. Decimus watches the flames like they might spell something. Caius talks less, which is more concerning than if he shouted. The recruits whisper. One draws a map in the dirt. Another erases it with his foot before it's finished. No one wants to hope. No one wants to know. But both linger like smoke. Later, the centurion walks the line, slowly, looking at everything but no one. You watch him pass your tent. He doesn't stop, doesn't speak, just moves on. You wonder if he knows. You wonder if he's afraid. You wonder if he's trying not to show it. That's the weight of not knowing. It's not just silence. It's performance. Everyone pretending not to care. Everyone caring too much. In the morning, someone finds the message board scraped clean. No orders posted. No next march. No new list. Caius says that means we're staying. Decimus says it means we're forgotten. You say nothing, because you're busy folding your cloak just right, rolling your blanket the way you learned years ago. Habits are a shield, even if they're fraying. You write a letter. You don't send it, because there's no satchel, no rider, just an envelope folded in quarters, pressed flat beneath your pack. You imagine writing home. Something's happening. We don't know what, but we all feel it. But you don't write that. You write about the bread, about the storm, about the way the boots make your toes feel like coins. It's easier to name the pain than the uncertainty. By evening, even the laughter sounds off. Too sharp, too fast. A man near the latrines says he heard from a cousin 2 camps over, that we're moving before dawn, that we'll be splitting companies, that half of us are headed somewhere we won't return from. You ask him how his cousin could possibly know that. He stares at you, shrugs, walks away. The rumor stays. You find Decimus seated at the edge of camp, sharpening still. You ask, "Would you rather know?" He pauses, says, "No." Then, "But I hate this more." You nod. You sit beside him. Neither of you speaks again, not for a while. Behind you, someone sings, softly, wrong words, Right melody. You remember the same tune from a burial 3 months ago. It fits. You don't know why. Eventually, the centurion gathers the squad. Briefly. Says orders are coming. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe not. Then he leaves. No questions invited. No answers offered. The night deepens. And with it, the feeling that knowing might not help. That perhaps the waiting is worse. That perhaps it isn't. You lie awake that night, staring at the roof of the tent. The silence isn't peaceful. It's thick, crowded, like a room with too many people afraid to speak. The wind rustles canvas. You think it might be a messenger. It's not, just air. You roll to your side, listen to Decimus breathe. He's not asleep either. No one is. Not really. In the morning, no horn blows. No commands come. Caius paces like a dog who's forgotten what door the food comes through. A recruit sharpens a stick to a point, then throws it at the dirt. It misses. No one laughs. You check your pack again. Pretend you lost something. You didn't. But the search is better than stillness. Someone carves names into the post outside the tent. No one stops him. A list of men who were here, or are, or might not be tomorrow. By midday, the rumor shifts again. Now it's not about moving. Now it's about disbanding, or reinforcing, or dissolving. You stop listening. Not because it doesn't matter, but because you've heard every version before. You sit at the edge of camp, watching the tree line. Nothing comes, but you stay there anyway, because one day, something will, and you'd rather face it standing, even if it never shows. When the fire is built that night, it burns faster. People feed it too much, too soon, like they need something big to focus on. You watch the flames lick upward, too tall for comfort, then die down just as fast. Someone mutters that it's a bad sign. You poke the coals with a stick, say nothing. Caius tosses on a bundle of twigs. They smoke more than they burn. It fits the mood. Finally, as the last embers glow, the centurion returns, scroll in hand, unread. He stands by the fire, clears his throat, says nothing, then reads. Orders, short, clear. You march at dawn. Direction, east. Length, unknown. Purpose, withheld. No one claps, no one curses. You just sit there, letting the words settle. Finally, you know something, and somehow it still weighs the same, maybe heavier. You fold your hands, look to Decimus. He nods once, and that's enough. Tonight, at least, the waiting ends. Tomorrow, it begins again. You expect the end to be louder, but when the march finally stops, no one cheers. No horns, no raised arms, just silence. The kind that follows a long exhale. The kind that feels like forgetting. The road behind you is long and wet and full of ghosts. You don't turn around to look at it. There's no need. Your feet remember every stone. The camp is set without instruction. People just know. Tents rise in practiced silence. Boots come off. Cloaks are wrung out one last time. You sit beside Decimus. He doesn't speak. He holds out a strip of bread. You take it. Chew, swallow. Taste nothing. That's not new. Across the field, someone drops a crate. No one flinches. Someone else laughs. Alone. It doesn't last. The fire is built slowly, as if rushing it would ruin the peace. You watch it catch, watch it grow, and when it does, you stare into the flames until your eyes sting. You tell yourself it's the smoke. You almost believe it. The old man sharpens a stick, not for use, just for the feel of control. Caius hums a song you don't recognize. Maybe he's making it up. Maybe it doesn't matter. You close your eyes and let your shoulders fall. It's the first time in weeks they haven't been pulled tight. The ache is slow to leave. You don't rush it. Someone asks what happens now. No one answers, because no one knows. The orders said this was the end. but didn't say what comes after. And in that silence, something heavy sits in your chest. Not fear, not relief, something else, like the ghost of a purpose. The fire burns low. The tents rustle softly in the breeze. The men eat slowly. No jokes, no singing, just chewing and swallowing and sitting together in the soft quiet. You walk away from the light, toward the hill that watches the camp. You sit at the top, knees pulled close, cloak over your back. You watch the camp flicker below. You listen to the night. And for the first time in a long time, it doesn't feel like it's watching you back, just letting you be. Behind you, the camp begins to quiet. The fire burns lower. Voices fade. You stay on the hill. The ground is damp, but you don't move. You think of letters unsent, words unsaid. You wonder if you'll ever send them, if they'll matter. Below, Decimus lies flat on his back, staring at the sky. Caius fiddles with his cup, turning it over and over. Everyone's doing something small, something quiet. That's what you do when something big ends. You pretend it didn't. A breeze brushes past your ear. You shiver, not from cold, from memory, from the sudden absence of forward motion. You were always walking, always moving toward something. Now there's nothing left to chase, and it feels wrong. You think of your boots, how the soles wore down unevenly. You think of the man who once gave you extra thread when yours ran out. You never asked his name. You don't know if he made it. You think of the first night you slept in this cloak, how stiff it felt, how warm it is now. You pull it tighter, not against the cold, but against the question pressing on your ribs. What now? You don't have an answer. You stand slowly, walk back to camp. The fire is coals now, but someone's still feeding it gently. You sit. Decimus nods. Caius offers half an apple. You take it. Chew slowly. It's sweet. Too sweet. It makes your jaw ache. But you finish it, because some things deserve to be finished, even when they hurt. Someone begins to collect empty flasks. Someone else folds spare cloths. It's not cleanup. It's ritual, because hands need purpose, and quiet is heavier without motion. You unlace your boots, place them side by side. You look at them. Mud dried in cracks. Laces frayed. They've been with you every step. You don't thank them, but you think it. The old man finally speaks. He says, "It's over." No one replies, not because they disagree, but because they don't know if it's true. You stare into the embers. Red, then orange, then dark. Tomorrow you might wake and march again, or not. Tomorrow someone might hand you new orders, or none. But tonight there are no orders, no whistles, no alarms, just the sound of men breathing, eating, waiting for nothing. And somehow, that's heavier than waiting for something. You lie down near the fire, close your eyes, not to sleep, but to settle. Your back meets the earth, and for once, it holds you without resistance. It lets you rest. You think about the name of the road you traveled. You never knew it. No one said, but it shaped you anyway. You think about your name, how long it's been since someone said it softly, not shouted it in formation. You wonder if it will sound different tomorrow, or if you will. You hear Caius laugh in his sleep, a strange, sudden noise. It fades quickly, but it echoes longer than it should. You smile, then stop, then smile again. You let yourself feel the quiet, not fight it, not question it. You let it settle, like dust, like breath, like the end of something you didn't realize had begun. And when sleep finally comes, it doesn't sneak, it settles, like rain after thunder, like a hand resting gently on your shoulder. It tells you softly, you don't have to move anymore, not tonight.